This caught my attention earlier today when this congressman tweeted about how he couldn't get an apartment due to his bad credit. Name of the congressman is Maxwell Alejandro Frost. He's the youngest congressman in the House of Representatives, and I think he's the youngest congressman in the history. So he was elected at a very young age to be the congressman in Florida. I think in the Orlando area. He broke the record for being the youngest to be elected to that position. And I just want to read off some tweets first of what he said about this. So here goes. Just applied to an apartment in DC where I told the guy that my credit was really bad. He said I'd be fine. Got denied, lost the apartment and the application fee. This ain't meant for people who don't already have money. For those asking, I have bad credit cause I ran up a lot of debt running for Congress for a year and a half. Didn't make enough money from Uber itself to pay for my living. It isn't magic that we won our very difficult race. For the primary, I quit my full-time job because I knew that to win at 25 years old, I'd need to be a full-time candidate 7 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day. It's not sustainable or right, but it's what we had to do. As a candidate, you can't give yourself a stipend or anything till the very end of your campaign. So most of the run, you have no dollars coming in unless you work a second job. AOC went through something similar in 2018, and it's still a problem. I also recognize that I'm speaking from a point of privilege because in 2 years' time, my credit will be okay because of my new salary that starts next year. We have to do better for the whole entire country. Well, for the whole country, that's what he said. So I found this very interesting. And I guess I found the other tweets pretty interesting too. I want to disclose first, I'm not a Democrat or Republican, but I want to dive into what some people have said about this. I've heard a lot of tweets in response to them like, hey, you're terrible with money. If you didn't have money to run, you should have ran in the first place. That you should have made sure you budgeted well, and if you can't afford it, then don't run. And that was your mistake. So I can see that point, but it's also a terrible point because it illustrates right here that to run for these political positions, you have to be upper middle class to upper class. That's the only way you could afford to do something like this for 99% of the people who are in these power positions, which is terrible because I feel democracy is weakened when the people who are representing you are not even from the same class you are. The majority of people in America are not upper middle class. At best, I would say 10% of the population falls into that category. Then there's like that 1% that are just filthy rich. So let's say that total population is 10 to 11%. So that means 89% of people are not being represented by people of their class. And you got to look deeply into this. People of their own class stick together. So these upper middle class or rich people obviously are going to pass laws that are in their best interest and not in the best interest of the people. So you're not getting proper representation. How do you stop this? By electing people like Maxwell Frost, who's I believe middle class to working class. So he represents the general population. He's more likely to fight for policies that benefits the general population versus these other politicians who are going to pass policies that benefit the upper middle class or rich. So that's terrible for people to say that because that just shows how depressing the whole entire situation is, that the general population will never have people that actually represent them, but will represent their class and special interests. So I think that's the terrible look on this. It's also discouraging a bunch of other people from running for these positions that, hey, you deserve to suffer, okay? Because you're not rich. You deserved all this punishment because you were not born in the right family or you didn't have the right connections. Well, tough. You don't deserve to have this position to represent the people, which I think is pretty stupid and cheesy. Just anyone who says that just shows to me that you are for the rich ruling you. You are for the corporate elite class taking advantage of you and exploiting you. For things to change this country, we got to have regular people who are in these power positions, and that's the only way I feel change can really, really occur for the better. That's how I feel about it. It's just I just feel there's a lot of idiots out there who are screaming at this guy for not having money. Basically, they're just saying in a nutshell, he should be punished for not being rich or upper middle class, and he should suffer because of that, which I think is not right. And when I look at the apartment situation, it is a tough situation that he can't get one due to the bad credit he had to rack up. It also shows that to rise to these power positions, if you're not part of the elite class, you had to take extreme risks. You had to take extreme risks, and he had to take that risk of just getting all that debt. If he didn't do that, then he would have had no chance at all. And even if you do that, you could still lose, and then you're in a worse predicament because you don't even have that power position. So how do you pay that off? But like you said, he'll be able to pay it off now that he's getting paid a pretty good stipend now by being a congressman. I think the whole entire thing illustrates how corrupt America is. That it's another illustration that if you're not upper middle class or rich, you're going to be punished in this country when you strive for great things. There's going to be a lot of barriers and obstacles that you have to overcome in unconventional ways. So that's all I have to say about this.